Jakarta, Manila, Ho Chi Minh, Seoul, Kyoto, Lombok, Padang, and last year in Bali. This year, ICBMR is held as a virtual conference where there will be online presentations, meet the editors, doctoral colloquium, and webinar keynote speeches. The theme for the 13th ICBMR is Leveraging Business and Management Knowledge in Digital Era. The first keynote speaker is Professor J. Bin An from the Graduate School of International Studies, Seoul National University, will give a speech about financial technology in emerging countries. The second speaker, Professor Riza Casidy, Associate Editor for Journal of Strategic Marketing, an international journal of consumer studies from Macquarie University, would give a speech about marketing in digital era. On the last day, Professor Ian Prof, Editor-in-Chief of Asia-Pacific Journal of Marketing and Logistics from Curtin University, will discuss how to publish an article in a reputable journal. All accepted full papers will be published in the conference proceedings with ISBN and proposed to be indexed by Thomson Reuters Conference Proceedings Citation Index. The supporting journals for ICBMR 2020 are Indonesian Capital Market Review, ASEAN Marketing Journal, and the Southeast Asian Journal of Management. Selected outstanding papers will be invited for fast-track review and publication in the International Journal of Business and Society, and International Journal of Economics and Management. Our special thanks to our sponsors Bank Central Asia, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Telin by Telkom Indonesia.
The Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, FEBUI, is a modern, dynamic, and welcoming campus, a place to study for the nation's future leaders. Situated in two strategic locations, Depok and Salemba, we are fully committed to contribute to the development of knowledge in economics and business, and to nurture future leaders with a sense of social responsibility and the ability to address global environmental changes. For over 65 years, we have produced the country's best graduates that will potentially play important roles both in the Indonesian government and the private sector.
So my name is Thijs Hesselmans, I'm from Blanda, and one of the many things I like about Fakultas Ekonomi and Business Universitas Indonesia is that the campus is really green. It's wonderful.
In the future, we are aiming to become Asia's leading economics and business learning center, which contributes to the development of Indonesia and the global community. FABUE has three departments: the Department of Economics, the Department of Management, and the Department of Accounting, with specified courses such as With more than 65 years of experience as a prestigious educational institution in Indonesia, we have become one of the few that consistently produce the best graduates in the country. The development of FABUE is not only limited in the standard degree education, but also in non-degree education, research, and consulting. Through cooperation, we always strive to provide benefits for both parties involved.
Hi, I'm Narumi Ishikawa from Japan Chiba University. Thank you for FAD to expanding my knowledge. Thank you for University Indonesia. Terima kasih banyak.
Currently, there are plenty of FABUE graduates who occupy key positions both in the government and private companies, local and international. The Faculty of Economics and Business University of Indonesia welcomes the entire academic community with open arms to achieve a bright and successful future together.
Part of FABUE.
Be part of FABUE for a better future.
FABUE, massive campus with great people and unique local food.
ICBMR is organized by Management Research Center, Department of Management, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Indonesia, that aims to provide an excellent international platform for the academicians, researchers, and budding students around the world to share their research findings and to find international linkage for future collaborations in the areas of business, management, and economics. Previously, ICBMR had been held in Jakarta, Manila, Ho Chi Minh, Seoul, Kyoto, Lombok, Padang, and last year in Bali. This year, ICBMR is held as a virtual conference where there will be online presentations, meet the editors, doctoral colloquium, and webinar keynote speeches. The theme for the 13th ICBMR is leveraging business and management knowledge in digital era. The first keynote speaker is Professor J. Bin On from the Graduate School of International Studies, Seoul National University, will give a speech about financial technology in emerging countries. The second speaker, Professor Riza Casidy, Associate Editor for Journal of Strategic Marketing, an international journal of consumer studies from Macquarie University, would give a speech about marketing in digital era. On the last day, Professor Ian Fa, Editor-in-Chief of Asia Pacific Journal of Marketing and Logistics from Curtin University, will discuss how to publish an article in a reputable journal. All accepted full papers will be published in the conference proceedings with ISBN and proposed to be indexed by Thomson Reuters Conference Proceedings Citation Index. The supporting journals for ICBMR 2020 are Indonesian Capital Market Review, ASEAN Marketing Journal, and the Southeast Asian Journal of Management. Selected outstanding papers will be invited for fast-track review and publication in the International Journal of Business and Society and International Journal of Economics and Management. Our special thanks to our sponsors Bank Central Asia, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Telin by Telkom Indonesia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ICBMR 2020, Leveraging Business and Management Knowledge in Digital Era. This ICBMR 2020 is brought to you by Bank Sentral Asia, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Telin by Telekomunikasi Indonesia. And this conference is organized by Management Research Center Universitas Indonesia. Before we continue, allow me to announce the session rules. Participants can fill in the list of attendance form provided in the Zoom chat room. Participants can ask questions via Q&A room by mentioning their full name, institution, and question. Moderator will select and read questions from participants. And ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome Professor Riza Casidy, Associate Editor of Journal of Strategic Marketing and International Journal of Consumer Studies from Macquarie University, Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Riza Casidy.
Hi,
Good
everyone.
afternoon, Professor.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, Professor.
Great. Thanks for having me. Are we ready for the presentation? Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen. Again, thank you for having me. This is my first time here. And I'm Indonesian by descent, and nationality. I've lived in Australia for about 19 years now. One of the keynote speakers in the conference, Professor Ian Powell, was actually the first lecturer who taught me about marketing back at Curtin University more than 20 years ago. And I finished my PhD from Monash University, Melbourne, got my first academic post at Swinburne University, moved across to New South Wales, joined Macquarie Uni in 2019, last year, got my associate professorship there. And here I am now. So thank you so much for organizing this conference. Looks very interesting. And I'm hoping to be able to share a bit of my insights about marketing in the digital era. If you have any questions, feel free to post your questions in the chat room as the moderator has suggested. So just before I start with my presentation, let me just hide this panel. Okay, just to make it clear. So I came across this board a few weeks back on my way to the airport in Jakarta, and have a look at this. Buana promosi, space available, and some numbers there. So you got 4 giant billboards with no advertising whatsoever. And 4 or 5 years ago, actually 3 years ago, this was never expected. Every time we want to have like a conference or event or something very important, it cost us about 30 to 40 million rupiah to promote something every week. And this kind of location close to the airport may cost up to 100 million. But now they're struggling to find customers because apparently with 10 million rupiah you can get a very good exposure in Instagram advertising and Facebook advertising, and can reach better number of customers or people within very sorry, my connection is unstable. I'm just trying to within low costs. So I'm going to talk about marketing in the digital era as requested by the conference organizer. I'm going to start with the history of digital marketing and 4 cultural eras of digital marketing and the future of digital marketing. So Professor Ian Powell, back in 2000, his paper published in Internet Research, now it's an A-star publication, say that by 2001, 32.4% of populations will use internet. We may laugh at the stats because now maybe 95% of the population use the internet. But back then in 1998, when the paper was written, published in 2000, not so many people actually have internet access. And Ian Powell cited a stat there: 34% of the Singapore population will do internet shopping. The paper suggests that products and services that are low cost, frequently purchased, has intangible value proposition, and high on differentiations are more likely to be purchased via the internet. Now look at my Tokopedia. So by the way, this is the real sort of coverage. So in 2018, 87% of Singaporeans have internet access, and 62% of all shoppings in Singapore is done online. Now, this is my recent Tokopedia purchase. You can see, sometimes I even when I'm in Australia, I use Tokopedia to send stuff for my relatives and my family. So my nephew needed a helmet for biking, right? And then so it's $20, and it's very low cost. So it ticked the box. But all the other 3 criteria published back in the year 2000, but frequently purchased, I don't really buy helmet every week or so, right? And on the top one is like a loop strap. So my band, right? It's a Fitbit Versa, which is cheaper in Indonesia compared to overseas, and I don't buy it frequently. So it's a no for frequently purchased. It doesn't really have intangible value proposition. So something like this, like even a dental floss, $5, right? $1.70 each. It doesn't have any intangible value propositions. It's not differentiated. So in a way, all those predictions back in 1998 were sort of inaccurate here in 2020. So what was relevant back 20 years ago may not be relevant today. What I'm trying to say here is that you can't really predict the growth of digital marketing. It's like what people buy from the internet is beyond imaginations. We bought 2 investment properties in Brisbane a couple of years back, I think 4 years ago. We've never even been to the property. So we made decisions as to what apartments to buy based on the pictures from the internet and an agent or a broker who is there negotiating on our behalf. A lot of people from Hong Kong and Taiwan and China, they went and buy apartment in Melbourne without even having, taking a step and look at the actual physical location of the apartment. So in a way, now you can buy real estate online without even having to come to the place. Cars were bought online. Almost everything now is done online. So there are 4 cultural areas of digital marketing with some implications for us as practitioners, or some of us are academics. So starting from the first one is called collaborative systems. So this is back in 1970s through to 1980s, 1990s, when I first came to Melbourne, and I was looking for a place to stay. I was living in Western Australia for 3.5 years with my parents, and I moved to Melbourne, and I was looking for an apartment, right, or a place to stay. I used Gumtree because Gumtree is collaborative systems in a way that everyone can post anything in Gumtree for free. But if you want to pay, then they can actually boost your posting, make it more popular, I suppose. So regardless of who you are, you can post a content in Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree. When we were in the States 3 years ago, we rented an apartment for 6-7 months. I had my visiting scholar position at Indiana University at Bloomington, Indiana, and we had to sell everything after 6 months. We had to sell our kitchen appliances, sofa, beds, mattresses. We use Facebook Marketplace. It's free to use, and people within radius, your radius of your location, will be able to buy stuff from you. So everyone can contribute to these collaborative kind of systems, non-commercial. So anyone with particularly no governance structure whatsoever. So no one can tell you, well, Facebook can ban you or Gumtree can kick you out, but no one telling you, oh, this is how you have to do your advertising. It's like there's no structure. Anyone can do anything. And this is our traditional market systems, back. And then we introduce what we call e-commerce. Basically, people can buy something from your store. And people were reluctant in the beginning because of credit card issue and all that. But then, now, like Uniqlo, so this Uniqlo website, you can buy anything from the website. That becomes, I call it traditional market systems because it's still one way. Basically, the company set up the products, then the focus on how you react to the firm's action. So look at this 990, right? If I slash this and I change it to 550, then people may buy more. So it's always about responding to what the marketers do. The interaction is one way. It comes to an extent where right now, Uniqlo, I have 3 Uniqlo apps on my phone because I downloaded one when I was in the States, one for Australia, and one in Indonesia. So, 3 Uniqlo logo on my phone with the identical structure, and it's just confusing. But, that's, again, the apps are one-way communication because the company sets the app, sets a price, and consumers react to whatever the company does. There are 4 cultural eras of digital marketing. The third one is called co-creation systems. Now, co-creation is different. Look at these 3 ambassadors. They're called Xbox ambassadors. So what Xbox ambassadors mean is that they are paid, or maybe they're not, but to get the ambassador status, which is kind of prestigious, you have to complete certain status, like you have to complete certain games, you have to be able to, at a certain level of your gaming. Actually, now we know what so-called professional gamers. You can actually earn income by being professional gamers. There was this back 4 or 5, there was this champion, and he decided to stop playing futsal for real and become a full-time gamer instead. How amazing is that? Okay, there are a lot of like 10, 12-year-olds who earn more than a professor because they get paid $100,000 a month just to play games and become the ambassadors for Xbox. Well, maybe too late for us to change professions, but this is real, right? Xbox ambassadors, PlayStation ambassadors. And what happened here is that it's no longer the company telling them, hey, this is what you need to do, but they tell other people about the games from their own experience with little influence from the company. So in these situations, you know, if like I play game myself, so whenever I'm stuck, it's very rare that people email the game developers. What people do is they communicate in the community chat room about what to do with the game. And customers helping customers is co-creation systems. And we come to the final one, which is Prosumption Systems. And this is where in Indonesia, you got Bukalapak, Shopee, Tokopedia, Blibli, yeah, Lazada, and you got Airbnb. So in Prosumption Systems, there's commercial interactions between a network of individual prosumers and the regional firms handling the production. So Tokopedia doesn't sell anything, but it becomes a platform where you can sell something, where you can actually, you know, you can actually facilitate. And in Tokopedia, you can be seller and you can be buyer at the same time. That's why you call prosumers. Same with Shopee. Same with Bukalapak. Okay, so you know, talk about what Gojek, right? So now when people ask, okay, what do you want to eat for dinner? What do you want to eat for lunch? I just Gojek. Now Gojek doesn't even sell any food, right? Gojek is a platform to deliver food to you, and the Gojek driver by itself is a producer because, you know, they deliver, so they produce the service. But the Gojek driver is also a consumer from the Gojek company perspective, because they're the ones, you know, contributing to the whole economy. So it's very interesting. It's Prosumption Systems. We no longer think of consumers as ultimate consumers, just consuming, but consumers become producers at the same time. Now think about going to a barbecue restaurant, and I like Yukaku, right? And you know, in Yukaku, for example, in a barbecue restaurant, if the food is overcooked or if the food doesn't taste nice, it's not because the meat is not good, but because maybe you overcook it. Like, it's your mistake because you contribute to the creation of the food. In a way, you are a consumer, but you are also producing the service at the same time. Now we go back to service dominant logic perspective, you know, Fargo and Lutz 2004, but this is what's happening right now is prosumption. Think about this: the biggest accommodation provider in the world is not Hilton, it's not Sheraton, it's not you know, the Bonvoy group, but it's Airbnb. And Airbnb doesn't even have its own hotel or villa. They're just a platform. The biggest taxi company in the world, Uber, doesn't even operate their own cars. The biggest university in Australia doesn't even have or own a building. It's called Open Universities Australia. Got more than 100,000 students all over the country, even overseas, and the same with the UK. So what's happening here is that there's a move towards prosumption systems. As an academic, as entrepreneur, or as a practitioner, we have to pay more attention to the role of customers as producers. This becomes very important in this day and age. Now, moving on. So this is what I just said just now. So where to from here? Prosumption and co-creation network systems will replace traditional and collaborative systems. Now, the question for us, academics and practitioners, is that, you know, will there still be a physical university in the next 10, 20 years? And I would say, honestly, yes, there is. You know, it's like you as a question, will there still be a physical library? There will always be a library, but people use it in a different way. We have a building, university building, but in the next 10, 20 years, students don't always come to the building to study. The building becomes a symbol, the building becomes the brand representative of the university. It's like if you go to Oxford or Cambridge, the building, Harvard, right? It becomes the cultural icon, it becomes the faculty home, it becomes a an icon where people can come and can see, you know, the identity of the company as a brand. Now, I think the best way to illustrate it is soccer. If you follow soccer, I've been to Nou Camp, Barcelona. I've watched a game in Barcelona, but I'm a Barcelona supporter and AC Milan supporter. I watch most of the games on my TV or on my phone. Actually, I just watched with my brother 4 days ago, right? Inter versus Milan, 1-2, Milan won. And, you know, I only visit the stadium maybe 3 times, so, you know, all my life, just 3 times, and watch the live game maybe 3-4 times. But the rest I watch online. Now, that's just an example of what happened if soccer team doesn't have a stadium. They will lose their identity. So the stadium become their identity. The same with universities. The universities become, the buildings become their identity. It's a cultural icon, but it's not where you, sorry, I'll just turn off my alarm. So it's not where you go to study, but it's a cultural representation of, you know, the institutions that you connect with. So where to from here? Look at this, right? This is my son on the left-hand side, and that's not real dinosaur. That's an AR, and he actually found it in the internet. He just used my phone, and he said he can project. So I'm using my phone here. If you Google dinosaur with your phone, if you got Samsung, new Samsung or iPhone, you can actually find this dinosaur, and it can project into your camera. It becomes augmented reality. Look at the right-hand side. You don't have to go to IKEA anymore. You can, you know, you can project how the IKEA sofa or table is going to look like in your house. And that's just an example of augmented reality. What is augmented reality? Augmented reality can be a device where you bridge between the traditional and online settings. The same with universities. When I was a deacon University for 5 years as a senior lecturer before I joined Macquarie. We always try to maintain consistent experience across online and offline settings. Is whenever I teach on campus, there's a camera and an online session going on at the same time with my assistant helping me responding to student questions, and we even interact, you know, on campus, and online students can interact via all this technology. So it's not new, but a lot of universities try to avoid this. And, you know, for Macquarie, for example, we had to resort to online, you know, within few weeks because of the COVID situation, and it wasn't really, you know, great experience because we had to adapt within very quick time. But some other universities are more prepared and they're responding really well. And there's a blurring line between online and offline environment. I bought this for my son birthday a few weeks ago, and Super Mario Lego. Maybe we'll just watch this together if we can. I'll just share. Maybe I need to.
Professor, can you share the audio too?
Sorry about that. The audio should come. Sorry, I didn't realize the audio is not there. Let me just, so here's the clip. If you want to watch yourself. Sorry, because I thought I shared the sound as well. Usually the sound just comes in. Basically, it's a Super Mario new toys, and what happened is the way they designed the toys is that you have to download the app. So without the app, if you don't have a smartphone, the toys won't operate. Yeah. So there's a blurring line between online and offline environment. They don't even give you a guide as to how to build the Lego. You have to follow the instructions on the app. And this is designed for, obviously they have in mind a Generation Y parents with small children. So Generation Y is more adept, I suppose, with technology, with apps. So this is the way that they design it. And my point was, there was a blurring line between let me just share again, between the online and offline environment, because now even for us to set up toys, physical toys, we need to have an online support and an online sort of experience. Yeah. And it's amazing that if you buy a certain set, the app will show that, you know, and you scan the barcode, the app will show that you just open up a new world in the app. It's great. So another prediction, if you like, my hypothesis is that physical firms with online presence will turn into online firms with physical presence. This will happen across all sectors, including education, transportation, health, and in some countries, perhaps religion. So transportation, for example, Uber and Gojek, right? Grab has replaced the traditional. Remember, you know, a few years ago, there was this huge demonstration in Jakarta of the traditional ojek driver against the online, right? Gojek or Grab. What happened now? The traditional ojek driver becomes ojol, right? So ojek online driver, because you can't resist technology. It's just there. I mean, if it's more convenient, people will convert to the convenient ones. I haven't seen becak for 20 years, maybe, right? I love to ride becak again, but now, you know, maybe one becak or the cost of operating becak may be quite the same with motorcycle. Education, again, instead of having one campus with online, it become an online university with one building, with just one small building. I've run a college before, and our biggest expenses for college, guess what? Rental, right? Renting. It costs us about $25,000 a month to rent a place in Melbourne CBD, just right in the center of CBD. But if it's online college with a very small building, very limited physical capacities, it will be better for, you know, financially for people.
Professor, sorry, the participants cannot see the screen. Can you start sharing the screen again?
Oh, sorry. I thought something must be really wrong here. Can you see the screen now?
Not yet. It says has started screen sharing, but the screen is not there yet.
Okay, let me try something else. Maybe I'll just turn off. Okay, I'll just close everything. I'll open it up again. Maybe it's my connection. Okay, I'll try again. Can you see my, wait. How about this?
Not yet. Not yet. Do you need our assistant to show the screen?
Yeah. Can you show slide number 15, please? Thank you.
Okay.
15. 15. I think once when I started sharing the YouTube clip, it just messed up everything. Yeah. So this is good. Maybe the slide before. One slide before. 14. Yeah, good. All right. So health, Mayo Clinic from the US, for example, is doing online consultation. You can actually pay them with credit card. You know, because of COVID situation, also in Australia, when you want to go to your GP, Dr. Umum, yeah. So instead of going there, you do a telehealth. So you tell the doctors like this, and you can't really visit the doctor, you know, face to face because of the COVID situation back in 4 months ago. And now the trend in Christianity, I know religion, all right, in a lot of countries, in Australia, especially the future of church is the future of church online, because now with online services, churches, you know, can reach 100,000 millions viewers within few weeks, or, you know, within a few hours. But you know, with physical presence, a building can come to 3,000, 4,000 people. So it's just an example. We can go ahead, slide 15. From academic perspective, I understand a lot of people here are from university professors. You're in academic, you're doing research. So just give you an example from my own experience, everybody. I had an opportunity, and I was privileged during my sabbatical when I was at Indiana University working with Professor Adam Dushak from Indiana Uni. We have our paper under third round of review in Journal of Marketing Research. We are pretty confident it will go through. So if it goes through, it will be quite significant in terms of the prestige of the journal. But our research in Journal of Marketing Research, it's not a survey or experiment only. What we did was we combined data from Yelp, if you know Yelp, like the food you know, review website, with evidence from experiments. The thing is, the top 4 journals, maybe even the top 8 journals now, I can tell you the names of the journals: Journal of Marketing, Journal of Consumer Research, Journal of Marketing Research, Marketing Science, GEMS, Journal of Retailing, all these top journals, they no longer accept if you only have experiments or survey. If it's only 1 or 2 surveys, it will get desk rejected by the editor, even it won't go through review process. But by combining Yelp data or Twitter data with survey or experiments, that's the way to go. I would imagine in the next 3 to 4 years, you know, more journals will go with the same level of expectations. What happened is we compare and we say that the Yelp data shows that consumers' religiosity, we demonstrate that religious consumers are more complaining. You know, they actually provide worse review comments, which is, I mean, you know, it's contrary to my expectations, right? And then we provide evidence about this in the lab experiments and in survey. If you only have qualitative, like, you know, interview and survey combined together, is still not enough. It's the era of big data. They're looking at Twitter, even Journal of Consumer Research. Only recently, I think only for the past 3 to 4 years, they started to consider Twitter data. So we can go ahead, move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the future for physical business. Usually, remember, you know, many years ago, people think, okay, people go to the store as a showcase, right? So like an LV store, Chanel store, they look at the products, they go back home, they search for the products online, they find better price, and they buy it online. But now it's no longer the case. You don't even have to go to the store to see a showcase or showroom, because the showcase, the biggest showcase, is online. Sometimes it bothers me if I go to one H&M store in Jakarta or in Melbourne, you know, they may not have my size. If I go online, they do have my size. Maybe, you know, sometimes, or they don't have my color. So why do we need physical stores? Why do we have LV store in almost all major cities in the world? Manila, Bangkok, Jakarta, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. Why do they always have a physical store in the middle of the city? Because it is a reinforcer of brand equity. In Hollywood, in LA, close to the Rodeo Drive area, Beverly Hills, actually, not Hollywood. It's a very expensive area. So, you know, the rent is crazy. It's just unbelievable. But if you buy a pair of Nike shoes in that huge building in Beverly Hills, a pair of Nike shoes in that building, and you buy exactly the same pair of Nike shoes in smaller town, you know, smaller buildings with very low rent, guess what? Exactly the same price. So why bother having a big Nike store in the middle of Beverly Hills? It's a reinforcer of brand equity. Then you start thinking, wow, Nike is amazing. It's, you know, that building becomes a symbol, becomes an icon. It becomes a reinforcer of brand equity. So yes, there will still be physical businesses, but the physical buildings become a representation of the brand equity. It reinforces the brand equity. They won't make money out of the physical buildings. They would make money out of the online shopping, yeah, and the brand value, but not from the physical building. So if you take the rent to considerations, you will always have negative balance, almost guarantee, 100%. So what will survive? This is my favorite hotel there on the left hand side, in the bottom, W Seminyak. Every time I try to swim in Seminyak, right, or use bodyboard, you know, the guy from the hotel will tell, hey, Pak, jangan renang di sini, right? Because he said, you know, people swept by the waves or something, right? But I just use bodyboard and I just play in the side. But W will always be there because people need hedonic experience. People need experience-based services. You know, Japanese barbecue or hibachi, they call it in the States, on the right-hand side, is always there because people want to see. You don't just order the food online and get it to your door, but you want to see people actually making a show. Like there's something that you want to see. It's an experience-based services. So here's some tips. Next slide, please. Here's some tips as to what we can do, or what do we do. First one is we go fully online. Yeah. If you open up a new business, consultation, medical consultation, what else? Financial consultation, education, even, go fully online or fully virtual. Now, one big business that got hit real bad is education agency. Remember, people used to come to education agents to enroll. They ask questions. They go to the actual building as a consultant, and then they go enroll at a university. Now they go Google search. So go fully online, or use device such as AR to bridge the online and offline experience. If you have an offline store or you have a physical product, use something that can substantiate or become a bridge between the online and the offline device. Or you go fully offline, but make sure that the experience that you offer is completely memorable, incomparable, that couldn't be satisfied in the online environment. People even suggest that this might be the end of cinema. There may not be a cinema in the future. With COVID situations and everything, people get more comfortable now in their sofa because, first of all, the quality of our TV is getting better. Second of all, you can order popcorn and Coke online, right? So there's not this, you know, experience. There's not this key experience that people wish they can only get in the cinemas, especially the generation. You know, the millennials are still okay, but the next generation, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, they don't, like I can't watch I can't watch soccer with my phone. It's too small. I don't get it. Like I have to watch it on TV. If I have no other no other way, then I use my phone. But my brother-in-law is 24. He doesn't mind. He watches it on his phone, like a very small phone. Just watch soccer. It doesn't work for me. But for this generation, maybe cinema is no longer memorable. It's not unique. It's nothing. And for academic researchers, consider working, and this is very important, consider working with computer scientists. The current project I'm working on for JCR, we're looking at Twitter data. We're trying to find evidence that people are less self-focused in certain months of the year. Now, I've demonstrated using lab experiments, but we are looking at Twitter data and analyze. And my research assistant, he has no idea about marketing whatsoever. He has no marketing background, no bachelor degree in marketing, has no knowledge about business, but he's a Melbourne University PhD graduate from computer science. He's an amazing computer scientist. He can scrape data from Yelp. We got 1.6 million reviews data from Yelp that we scraped ourselves because of this guy. Now, having collaboration with computer scientists, for example, or computer engineers is the way ahead, because we can't depend on our own marketing theory, methodological knowledge, survey, experiments, all that. In people, especially academic journals, are very interested on interdisciplinary collaboration. As you know, marketing is a very what do you call it, like an applied, right, a social science. In a way, we don't really have our own, like we borrow theory from different disciplines. Sometimes as a marketer, we are guilty of trying to force our own way of thinking, our own theory. But when I submit to Journal of Service Research, and I think it got accepted at the end back in 2018, you can download my paper from Google Scholar. It was quite a tough review process. It got accepted because we use interdisciplinary lens. We combine service theory with religious theory, and it just appeals to the editor and the review team. So if you do the same with computer science and marketing, engineering and marketing, there was this paper published back in, I think, 15 years ago about biology and marketing, about symbiotic relationship in sales marketing. It's just amazing. So I would encourage everyone in this digital era, especially because Twitter data and social media data are very valuable, to start expanding your perspective and work with people from beyond your disciplinary knowledge. I myself, I cannot analyze Twitter data. Like, I have no ability whatsoever to analyze Twitter data or Facebook data, but I work with an RA, research assistant, and experts who can help me in working with those kind of data to give some more evidence, converging evidence to robustness of the findings based on field data evidence. So that's all. I think I'm hitting 43 minutes. The final slide got my contact details. Next slide. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I understand there are some questions already in the Q&A, and we only have about 17 minutes. So I'll try to answer everything, but if I can't, feel free to email me, and I'm happy to be, to connect with you. Thank you so much. I'll leave it to the moderator to facilitate the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive explanation, Professor Riza. So we've got some questions here. First one is from Gita Gayatri from UI. So her question is based on 3 suggestions that you have mentioned on your last slide, how to make them applicable for the SMEs, since they might not have enough resources to be online, nor enough funding for using an AR, nor being able to do both online or e-commerce with irreplaceable experience on their offline store. Does it mean that their brick and mortar business come to an end now? And the only thing they can rely on is the selling via marketplace and or the third party like delivery company or online transportation assistance? And do they need to find different strategy and or business to survive in the future? That's the first question.
That's a great question. Thank you so much, Gita Gayatri from UI. Let me answer this. So by working with delivery company, even working with various outlets like Blibli, Shopee, Tokopedia, is already one step. So not everybody can have an AR device, but uh, promoting yourself online in a way, like through all this platform is one way. The second thing is, I think there's value in SME. There's value in SME. Among young people in Indonesia, there was this sate house in Puncak that is very famous called Hanjawar. Maybe you know it. I've been there once. Took my wife there. She didn't get it. Like, she doesn't understand. But me and my brother-in-law, like, we couldn't resist the temptation. We drove 3 hours to Puncak just to eat it and go back. All right, that SME. They don't have a website, but they offer unique experience. So I suppose for SME, make it an experience they don't forget. There's this soto place in Surabaya, and actually not Surabaya. I'm not talking about soto ayam Ambengan, but the original one, I forgot the name. But there's a lot of stores which is SME. It's very small, doesn't even have a website, but people come there because of the experience. So the first thing to do is, of course, third party like delivery company, make it make it as many platforms as possible, so people can buy your product from Blibli, from Shopee, from Tokopedia. I think Lenovo, for example, has an official store in Tokopedia, but also in other platforms. So that would be my first recommendation. Second of all, make sure if it's with a brick mortar business, make sure that people have an unbelievable experience. Like, it's a very amazing experience. They come to your store, they will never forget the taste of your soup. Even some people like myself, it's very different when what was the last food I bought online? Satay, right? I bought satay online, and I told my wife, this tastes completely different when we eat there. When we had our dinner there, it's completely different, because once you pack the food, it lost its freshness and it just doesn't taste the same. So make it unbelievable experience, and make your product available in as many platforms as possible, so that people can access your product. I think that answers, hopefully. Thank you, Gita. Ibu Gita.
Thank you for the answer. And moving on to the next question is from Dewi Hanggraini. She's got 3 questions. The first one would be, how is the marketing mix strategy related to the development of HCM that supports the company's business strategy? The second one is how to develop digital marketing, including a digital-based platform related to artificial intelligence. Also, what about mitigating potential fraud or cyber risk? And the last one is how to solve the digital talent gap.
Okay, thank you for the question. Can you please elaborate, Ibu Dewi, what is HCM? I'm not familiar with the terminology, but while you answer that, maybe in the chat, can you just type what HCM means? What
That's
is that?
probably human capital management.
Okay, human capital management, right? So it's how is the marketing strategy? Okay, good. Okay, so I would say that in terms of human capital management, we have to look for talents, and you also talk about in the third question is maybe question 1 and question 3 is related. So we have to find people. I don't think we have to find an expert. I think you need to find one expert at least in digital marketing for your company, who knows about how to run digital marketing, how to do YouTube advertising, how to buy space online. It's very important. But for the rest, I think it's best to employ people who want to learn, because learning capabilities is more important than digital capabilities. Because if people want to learn, they will always continue to improve themselves. Especially in this digital day and age, people have to improve all the time. It's not about what you know now, which is expertise, because expertise is what we know now. Like, if you ask me, Riza, what is your expertise? At the moment, my expertise is religion and consumer behavior and branding. That's my expertise. But I'm willing to learn. So if people tell me, oh, Riza, your research is not good enough, you need Twitter data. Okay, I want to learn how to analyze Twitter data. If I have time right now, I would learn how to analyze Twitter data. But unfortunately, I don't have time for that. So in question 1 and question 3, I think you need to develop, to solve digital talent gap, employ people who want to learn, and tell the employees that learning capability is the most important asset right now. It's not marketing capability, it's not digital, it's learning capabilities. It's how much people willing to learn. And for number 2, how to develop digital marketing related to AI. I'm not an expert in AI, but in terms of mitigating fraud, cyber risk, it's all perception, right? So if from branding perspective, I would say promote your organization as the safest, strong CSR, because people somehow have this perception. If you have strong CSR, like Johnson and Johnson, for example, that you are less likely to commit fraud, or you are less likely to have cyber risks. So from branding perspective, if you promote your company as a socially responsible company, somehow it will make people trust your firm more than less reputable company. So it's not so much about the quality of your product that will mitigate the potential fraud or cyber risk, but it's the CSR, like the how good your company is in terms of social impact. I hope that answers, because sorry, I'm not an expert in AI, but I hope that answers the second question. I think we can move on to the third one.
Okay, thank you very much. So the third one comes from Octaviani from Universitas Indonesia as well. Her question is, with the high demand recently since the pandemic, most of the companies starts to move on to online marketing and online services. And this makes too many innovation online, and so many new startups will compete with the same businesses in digital. Yeah, how's the company can survive in this situation and sustainable?
Yeah, this is very sad situation, because if you are a new company, a new store in Tokopedia, you're competing with 4 stars, right? 5 stars, 4.5 stars, all this bronze and gold, and sometimes the small stores cannot compete. But it's about building, right? It's about building reputations. So I would say customer review is very important. If you're a startup, if you're a new business and you're just starting online, I would give bonus for my customers. If they give me good, don't give bonus if they give you good reviews. They give you any reviews, you give them bonus, right? If they're happy, tell them, okay, we appreciate that you're happy. Can you say it online? Even my students, if my students tell me verbally, hey, Riza, I love your teaching. You're an amazing teacher. Thank you for your lessons. I said, can you say it online? Can you send me an email? Can you fill the survey? Because now it's about data. So if you are just starting, customer reviews are key. Remember, customer reviews need to be genuine. Most of the restaurants I visited overseas, their stars are not good, like 3.5, 4.1, but they got 1,700 reviews. I would go to a restaurant with 3.5 stars with 10,000 reviews than a restaurant with 5 stars but only 4 reviews. So it's important to make it genuine. So I would say use the power of reviews. I think that would help businesses to compete in this competitive environment. I hope that answers. Thank you, MC.
Next question is from Ibu Esni Balkia from Universitas Indonesia. The question is, does combining offline and online interactions require an integration process among channels, like omni-channel?
Yeah.
Of course, this is quite challenging considering that the technological development can change the way consumers think, feel, and act.
Definitely. Even if you have, think about it. So we only have 5 phones, right? And then you have store in Tokopedia, you have your like physical store, you have your Blibli store, you got Shopee store, and imagine that in one day you got 10 orders, and everything is people just click, and you only have 5 phones, but you got 10 people ordering. So definitely you need an integration system whereby your Tokopedia account can read somehow your stock level from in Shopee and Blibli, integrate everything together with your with your physical store as well. If you sell a product to a customer coming to your store, that it will be it will be processed by barcode in your system. It will then record that you only have 4 stocks left. So this is very important, and sometimes even big companies mess up, right? So I ordered many times from a company, they had my size, And I waited and waited, and they didn't have it because apparently at the same time, the same people order it. And sometimes in app, you refresh your app and it's gone. So integration is it's essential. It requires time and effort, but yes, to answer your questions, it is a must. Like it's non-negotiable.
Thank you, Professor Riza. Moving on to the next question from Muhammad from Bandung. The question is, will people in the future stay longer in their house instead of going outside? Thanks a million.
Well, if the COVID, well, hopefully the COVID doesn't keep us longer at home, but I think there's a tendency for the generation, back in my days, I feel so old now, but when I was 5 or 6, I love going out. I have games at home. I got PlayStation 1 at home, but I love going out. I just play hide and seek outside. I play soccer outside. But the generation today, maybe because parents are more are overprotective, they don't allow kids just to roam around the road. So people like to stay home. Even my 6-year-old borrow my phone and just watch YouTube on my phone. So there's a tendency, and you're right, Muhammad. And I would say my prediction is that will have a lot of implications on cinemas and movies. As you know, Mulan, right? Mulan is not shown in the cinema because of the COVID situations, but you can buy Disney subscription now in Indonesia, a very reasonable price, just in time when Mulan was available. And it's just another example of how people will stay at home longer and less going out. So I suppose for restaurants, for example, we have two options. We still want people to come to our restaurants, then that's okay. Just do as normal delivery and everything. But if you think that people cannot come to your restaurant, so what happened is you must make sure that the quality of the food, maybe the packaging, is exactly the same, that people can consume it exactly the same taste when they do it at home than when they come to your restaurant, if you want to expand your market base. But if you really want people to still come to your restaurant, then maybe you don't really have to do anything. We can move on, MC.
We have the last question. It's coming from Hendra Taher. Yeah. How brand maintain the customer loyalty or even maintaining the pricing, since most of the sellers in marketplace is retailer, which sometimes 2 or 3 layer down. Thanks.
Loyalty is one of my favorite topic. Great. Okay. So I understand, you got 2 questions: maintain loyalty, maintain pricing. I think those 2 are different. I think we should separate the 2. Okay. And you're talking about sellers instead of brand. So let me talk about it from a brand perspective. I think loyalty is not, you cannot buy loyalty. So I think loyalty is irrespective of pricing. I'm loyal to Fitbit. I will not change to any other brand for digital, like for a smartwatch. So in order for them to maintain loyalty, the question is not pricing. If my Fitbit not working and I want to upgrade, then Fitbit must make sure that when I upgrade, I can have exactly the same experience or even a better experience than the previous version. So I don't think pricing is related to loyalty in a way. If the pricing is reasonable, I think people would still be loyal to your brand. I hope it answers. Sorry, Hendra, but I want to answer Ibu Sri. I'm familiar with Ibu Sri. We've been exchanging emails, I think a few years ago. Yeah, Ibu. Yeah, I think you also submit or publish a paper in APJML. So small sample research in scientific journals is still useful for practitioners. Yes. So I think, and this is a really good question, and that concludes my presentation. I still have 1 minute left. I would say this. I understand in Indonesia, and based on the questions that you ask, we are very practical based, right? We want our studies, our findings to have practical implications for businesses, for small, medium enterprises, and sometimes it's small sample. But at the moment, there is a big gap between academic journals and practitioners' situations. So even if you have findings that can help practitioners, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be published in academic journals. Actually, many papers published in top academic journals have no implications for marketing whatsoever. It's sad. It's a sad reality, but it's true. So I think Professor Ian tomorrow will also talk about it, where people sometimes from Indonesia, especially, I handle many papers from Indonesian scholars. We focus too much on practical implications, small sample size, practical, amazing story, but there is no strong theoretical contribution. I think the way we think must be different. Like if you want to target high impact journals, think theory first. And then when the theory works, when you test the theory, then try to make the implications for businesses. Don't come from a business problem and try to publish the findings in theoretical journal. It's very difficult to do it. So I would come from theory first and try to publish it empirically. I think that's a very good question, Ibu Sri, and I think that should conclude the presentation quite well, because in a way, most of my research are academic, and sometimes people cannot get like directly practical insights from it, but it's just the way we have to position our paper so that it gets accepted in the high impact journals. My view is always, once it gets accepted, you can always make it practical. You can always give examples and make it practical. So I leave it with you, MC, moderator. I'm sorry I'm 1 minute late, but I hope that answers the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Riza. I'm replacing the moderators. Thank you very much for your distinguished, very well the presentation, and then we hope that your presentation will be very beneficial for us. And then thank you very much for your contribution. And ladies and gentlemen, maybe we remind you all, the participants, to fill in the registration form that via link on Zoom chat. And then this is the end of our second session of the keynote speaker. And then conference and doctoral colloquium will be start soon at 2 o'clock. And then a gentle reminder also for all participants, the parallel session 3 on tomorrow, Thursday, October 22nd, will be start at 9 EM, Western Indonesian time. We also have meet the editors also with Prof. Riza and also with Prof. Ian Pao. And tomorrow will be also keynote speech from Professor Ian Pao. And then thank you for joining. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much once again from Professor Riza, and then see you tomorrow, and wish you all a great conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.